Programming your bass sound is done, and now you don't know which kind of MIDI sequence you should use? I had some requests about MIDI bass lines, and today I will show you some simple patterns to give a starting point and maybe some ideas for your next bass lines. Let's have a look. Okay, so here we go. I opened up an instance of Serum and used the init setting to build a bass line. I used oscillator A and the sub, tweaked a bit the attack of envelope 1, set it to mono and legato, and added a bit of glide. For the filter I used the standard 24 dB filter with a little bit of drive and a little bit of fat. The filter works on oscillator A and on the sub oscillator. This is a very basic bass sound, so nothing special. You should not copy that. I had another tutorial with a much better sounding bass line before. Inserted into the channel is an LFO-tool. I use this for sidechaining without the trigger. Also, an EQ is added to make a low cut around 58 hard, fitting to my kick drum. So let's start with the first bass line MIDI. This is a very simple offbeat. Lots of people use it. Let's have a listen. If I use offbeats, I put the notes on the one, on the full notes, and make them long. Doesn't work with the kick drum, so use the LFO tool or volume shaper or whatever you like, or compressor with the trigger, and make it an offbeat. This time I drawed some notes in the 16th grid. The first note is on the kick drum, the second note is on the off and plays a very long note. The third note is after the off, and then again on the off, after the off, on the off, etc. Let's have a listen. This has a bit more tribalistic feeling. Now let's go to a 16th bass line. We don't put a note on the kick drum, but on every other 16th we put the notes. Also very simple. Here we have something else. At the beginning we have a glide. From the first note set on the kick to the second note on the off. Here's the glide. Then we have a note on the off, and the 16th, as we have seen before, one bass hit on the kick drum and one on the off. Let's have a listen. In this bass line, only in the second part the note is on the off. This one is right after the kick, and this one right before the next kick. So it's a block of two kick drums. And here we have a more or less completely gliding bass line between the notes. Just make a stop right before the kick. This was just an overview about very simple patterns. The possibilities are limitless. I will be surprised about your next bass line.